Hello everyone, I am John Allnut, and today I'm going to show you how to play Escape the Dark Sector. Escape the Dark Sector is a theme-heavy game for 1 to 4 players by Themeborn Games and takes about 45 minutes. You and your crew members are confined to a detention block of a vast space station. You will embark on a desperate mission to find your ship and escape. In this game, you must overcome every chapter card in the mission deck while keeping all of your crew members alive. If you are able to do this all the way through the game and beat the boss, you win! In this video, I'll be giving a rules explanation with a sample mini playthrough, and then we'll give you some tips on how to survive this game. Alright, let's set it up. Alright, we are in the setup for Escape the Dark Sector. This takes about 5 minutes to set up, which is great. And if you die in the game, you can reset it up very, very quickly. So the very first thing that you want to do in the game is you want to shuffle the boss cards, and then you want to put one out here. And I've already done that. That's got the door on it there. Then you're going to want to shuffle the Chapter 3 cards, set 4 out, and then put them there. You're going to set those on top of the boss card there. And then you're going to do the same thing with Chapter 2 cards. There should be 4 of those. You're going to set those on top of Chapter 3. Same with Chapter 1. 4 cards. Those are going to go on top of the deck. And the very last thing you're going to do is you're going to put the starting card on top. And then it will say turn over to begin. All right, the next thing that you want to do is set up the mission area. And you're going to put your starting weapons kind of near the play area. I kind of just dealt out a random weapon to each character here. I've got Miller and Abbott, and so I just shuffled those up, put them face down. You know those are the starting weapons because they have a white back on the card. Next, you'll want to shuffle the item deck and place it to the right of the mission deck, leaving space below it for a discard pile. Then you're going to place the ammo, hit dice, and chapter dice above the playing area up there. You'll place the tactical combat action cards face up or to the left of the mission deck as shown, and leaving a gap into which chapter cards will be placed during the game. Place the epilogue cards, which aren't shown here. You can put them in the top right corner. I usually never use those. And then you'll want to choose your crew for the mission, and I've already chosen 2 for this. I chose 2 just to fit this into the screen, but when I solo this game, I usually use 4. So you're going to lay out their card here. You're going to choose cybernetic cards, and that's going to be these. I'm actually going to give Miller this enhanced reflexes card, and then Abbott, I'm going to give him the auto cortex one. Each one of these die is a custom die for each character. They're going to play to the strengths of your character. And those strengths are either going to be strength, which is the fist here. It's going to be cunning, which in my opinion is a little bit like dexterity. And then the last one here is intelligence. Intelligence is good for hacking computers, that type of thing. In this game, you're going to be rolling your crew die to see if you had a successful roll. Right here, I just threw 2 intelligence with a shield on it, which means that I would be protected from an attack. And then I would do a boss 2 damage of their chapter die, which I'll explain later. When you're choosing your cybernetic cards, you have a clue as to what these have to do with by taking a look at a thing that looks like dog tags, but is going to be imprinted in their forehead here. So this one is going to allow you to roll your crew die and only applying the second result. So if you fail in your first one, if you're like, oh, no, I needed intelligence. You got intelligence, cool, then you can use that. But you can only do that once per chapter. And then for Miller's, whenever you roll 1 or more hit die, which is one of these die, you may re-roll it once. Oh no, I got hit by a boss, and you'll do it again. All right, I still got hit by that boss, but sometimes you won't, right? So that's what those are for. All right, the next part is to prepare the medical records cards. That's here. What you'll do throughout the game, you'll start at 12 health, and then let's say you lost 2 health. So you would draw a line from 12 down to 10, and that would be where your current health would be. There are opportunities to gain health throughout the game with items. The game suggests setting up your characters like this here with your medical record on the bottom. I usually put my cybernetic cards underneath, and then I leave this area for items that you're going to draw. All right, so we've already gotten our chapter cards taken care of. Just going to tell you that in chapter 1, things are going to be about the easiest. You're probably going to get the most item drawing cards in that deck, and a mixture of enemies and alarms or traps. In chapter 2, you might meet mercenary crews, curious nobles, tech peddlers, and aliens from distant worlds. And chapter 3, just generally you're gonna have some nasty enemies. And then finally your boss will be the toughest out of all of the characters you ran into in the game. Here's a couple extra notes before we go into the game. Balance is really key in choosing your characters. The 3 attributes for each character was might, cunning, and intelligence. While might may seem to help you in battles, I find that cunning and intelligence are really required much more throughout the game and in and outside of battle. If you are soloing the game, the rulebook recommends, again, only 2 characters, but I really recommend 4, as it lightens the load from just 2 characters, and it also helps make the game a little bit more fair, spreading out the damage across 4 characters instead of 2. Escape the Dark Sector does have an optional soundtrack that was created for the game, though on your very first playthrough, I would not recommend it as it can feel a bit overwhelming when you play for your first game. After a couple of playthroughs though, I definitely recommend having it in the background as it'll really get your blood pumping, trying to survive all these attacks and characters that you're going to be fighting. All right, and after you have all this set up, you're ready to begin the game. All right, we're ready to begin playing a sample play. I'm just going to go through the first chapter with you. I don't want to ruin any surprises for you if you do buy this game. All right, the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn over this card here to begin, and I'm going to set them to the right, actually. I think that's going to be a good way to start. All right, I'm going to read this. Having finally deactivated the Briggs containment field, you head off directly for your ship's last known location. In your haste, you stray off course, marching right into a dead end. Put 1 additional Act 3 card at random on top of the boss card now. All is not lost. You appear to have located a forgotten storage facility. Dope! We have to add an extra card to chapter 3, which is definitely going to increase the difficulty of this game. So I found the boss card, I'm setting a chapter 3 card on top of that right now. All right, well, the good news is for each crew member, draw a starting weapon card and an item card. Okay, so I chose a ray gun for Abbott here and a slug pistol for Miller. And we'll talk about those when we need them. They also get an item card each. So we get a force field and a multi-stem. All right, so I'm gonna just give them this. Now each character has space for 4 items. And there are some items in the game that set horizontally, and so those take up 2 slots. So Miller got a force field, which if you lose any amount of HP, you'll discard that to lose none on a single occurrence. And then Abbott got a multi-stem. After rolling your crew die before applying the result, discard to change the die result to any single trait. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's turn the card and see what we're up to. So before we enter in the chapter cards, we need to decide on a leader to lead us into the next chapter. I generally will always take Miller when I go through, or somebody with higher cunning, just because there could be a lot of traps awaiting us in the future. So we're leading with Miller. If there's any damage lost, he's going to get it first. So first one. Oh, it's a trap. This may have worked out in my favor here. The way forward is blocked by an ever-shifting laser grid, a perplexing pattern of buzzing, burning beams. Each member of the crew must choose one of the following methods to try and get through without touching the beams. So we can either roll cunning in one attempt, or 2 wisdom in 3 attempts. Okay, so we're going to, with Miller, we're definitely going to try for cunning in 1 attempt. All right, so rolling here. This is a, on my left, if you're wondering what this is a jewelry holder thing, but it has a nice felt on it. I don't have a gaming table yet, so this is my little game rolling part. So Miller, successful with the cunning, awesome. So he got it on his first attempt, and then Abbott is going to shoot for 2 wisdom and 3 attempts. Okay, so here we go. Ooh, okay, so he got cunning. Well, he actually got it. Most of the time, Abbott is not going to get cunning, so I was going to go for wisdom with him, and we rolled cunning, so I don't know if you would have to have announced what you're going to try to go for, but cunning works. So we were able to do that without injury. If we had failed, we would have lost 2 HP. All right, so we're going to put this back on there. Doing well so far. Next card, we're gonna lead with Miller again. All right, look at this little guy. All right, hurrying onward through the detention level, you pass a cell where a curious creature is detained behind thick, humming laser bars. So basically this really cute furry guy wants us to draw an item card. So we're gonna draw an item card. It is gonna go to Miller because he was leading the group. So we're gonna put this Chrono Bomb over here, which is going to allow you to re-roll any combination of die. Okay, we're about halfway through chapter 1. What do we have next? Oh, we've got some fighting going on here. Marching in perfect step, we've got 3 security droids. So we have to choose an option. We can either evade, and you have to roll 3 hit die, ouch. Then turn the next chapter card, or you can begin combat. Well, because I'm doing a tutorial, I want to make sure that you know how combat works. So we're going to go for combat. I'm going to set that here. I'm going to show you the bottom left corner here. We have 2 might, we've got 2 cunning, and intelligence, and then we have to add a black die for each member of our crew. So that's going to be 2 extra that I'm going to roll. All right. So we've got 2 might. I'm going to put these die on the cards so you can see what I have left when I'm fighting this guy. We've got 2 cunning. We have an intelligence. And then for each member of our crew, I need to roll these black die. Okay, 2 might, which works out because that's pretty good between both of the characters I have. All right, so we're gonna fight. Now let's take a look at one other thing on their card real quick. So if you take a look on this right side, you've got a handgun ammo, does this character 1 damage. You've got electric fire is gonna do 2 damage to this character, or an explosive does 2 damage to them. Well, we don't have any explosives right now, but we do have a ray gun, and if I'm successful, it'll cause this enemy to lose 2 dice. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is do ranged attack. Once you go from ranged attack to close combat, you cannot go back to ranged attack again. So we have to make sure that we do that. I'm also going to show you how the flank card works. So who do we want to flank first? I'm going to flank with Miller. Miller is going to put his die here on the flank card. And then we have to roll a hit die. This is called a hit die here, to see if he gets hit by the enemy. And the damage is always just 1 with a flank. Okay, so Miller takes 1 damage. And I'm going to mark that on a sheet. It goes from 12 to 11. And then Abbott is going to go for a ranged attack. I believe it goes in this order. So Abbott is going to roll a hit die. And then he's also going to roll his ray gun die at the same time. Okay, so I hit this enemy, and then he also hit me. So Abbott is going to take 1 damage because the ranged attack is 1 damage on this character over here. And then I also hit him, so this enemy is going to be taking 2 die damage. So what I would do is spread out the damage a little bit. I'm going to take away a might and a cunning, and that's just going to go over here somewhere. So we did pretty good so far. Now it is Miller's turn to do a flank attack. So we already rolled that thing, and Miller is going to attempt to shoot this droid enemy. All right, what do we got? Okay, we have a gun jam. Oh, that's too bad. Is there any way that I can re-roll this? Let's see. I have a Chrono Bomb. After rolling any number or type of dice, discard, re-roll them all, applying only the second results. Well, that's really handy because I really want to do this enemy some damage. So I'm going to discard the Chrono Bomb. All right, we got a hit here with the Slug Pistol. One thing you want to make sure you do too, so that you can keep track of your ammo, is that you turn it to an empty side. And I'm going to do the same thing with the ray gun. I'm going to turn it to an empty side, just showing that I've used my ammo this round. All right, so we've hit this boss, and 1 bullet just does a single die of damage usually. However, the flank is going to allow me to take another die out as well. One thing I want to say is that whenever you remove die from an enemy, try to make sure there's a good balance of die left, because you might be stuck rolling a die and none of your results will end up removing some of these. So that's a really good tip as you play that. All right, so we are now done with the flank action. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to engage in close combat. This goes a little bit faster. You'll see in just a second. So I'm going to take Abbott and Miller. We're going to roll them. Roll them over here. All right. So Miller rolled a cunning. So we're going to remove the cunning die. However, he did not get a shield, so he is going to take close combat damage of 2. He's down to 9 right now. All right, and then Abbott also rolled a cunning. However, the cunning die is gone, so he's just going to take his 2 damage. All right, so we're going to go on to the next round of combat. All right, so Abbott this time, he threw an intelligence, so we're going to get rid of an intelligence. And then Miller played double cunning, but a shield, so he's going to be protected. Abbott is going to take 2 more damage. All right, we have 1 more round of combat, I think, before we're done here. All right, so Miller threw an intelligence. That's obviously not going to do it. Abbott threw an intelligence, but I'm going to use this multi-stem gear. And it says, after rolling your crew die, before applying the result, discard to change the result to a single of any trait. So we're definitely going to do that. I'm going to discard the multi-stem, and I'm going to change my die to a fist. Might. Right there. Okay, we've destroyed this boss. And before we turn the next chapter card, we are going to draw 2 item cards. And it should go to Miller because he led us first. We got some really good stuff here. Awesome. So I've got a ballistic shield. Whenever you would lose HP in ranged combat, reduce the amount by 1 down to a minimum of 1. And then we have a beam emitter, which is like a super duper ray gun. The only problem is we will not have enough room for all these, so this is going to take up 5 spaces. So I'm going to need to discard one of these. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to discard this force field if I want to use these permanently. All right, onwards and forwards. We're going to lead with Miller because he has more health here. All right, this is the last chapter card here. A wrong turn leads you right into a guard barracks. Row upon row of slumbering security personnel. Fortunately for you, a lone guard is on watch duty. She sees you, you both freeze. You must make a choice. You can either run, you'll roll for cover and sprint in the darkness, but the guard gets off 1 shot before you vanish. You must roll a hit die. Or you can steal and run. You swipe something from the nearest berth, then run for it. You must roll 2 hit die, then draw an item card. So this is just kind of a standard item drawing card. Let's see. If I get hit, it's 1 damage per hit die, and so that could be up to 2 damage that I've got. Let's see. I'm going to try to save some life because I lost a lot this round. So I'm just going to roll 1 hit die, and that's Miller. So he's going to roll this. All right. We evaded it. That's awesome. So, no item card, but we get to make it to the next chapter. Before we go to the next chapter, there's some really important stuff that we need to talk about. You have the ability to reload your weapons. So we're going to reload the ray gun we have there and the gun there. Forgot that the ray gun up here already comes with ammo on it. You can also trade items or weapons. And then we're going to turn over our flank card. The only other thing we didn't use this round was a medical drone. And what you'll do is you'll place your crew die on that. And then at the end of the round, you gain 1 HP and you'll turn that card over. So you have to kind of set out for one of those rounds, but then you'll turn this over and then you get to increase your HP by 1 thing per chapter. All right, well, I don't want to ruin any more surprises for you. The game is super fun. It's going to get harder and harder as you go. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and then a final boss. All right, let's go over to the final words about this game. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed playing through your first game of Escape the Dark Sector. So Escape the Dark Sector, again, is like a 1970s, 80s fighting fantasy game. I personally prefer to play the game solo, but others prefer to play it with a 4-player max player count. The game should last about 45 minutes with a 5-minute setup. When playing this game, you need to expect to lose 5 out of every 6 games at first. With that said, I do have a few tactics to help you make it throughout the game without dying. So the first one seems a little defeatist, but when you play a game, if you still haven't won yet, try to pass on as many enemies as possible. They usually give you an out somewhere where you don't have to fight the enemy, but you can do something like lose a health, and then you're allowed to leave. I find that when you lead with a character in the game, the most success I've had is using a character with high cunning, and that way they can make a roll if it's a dexterity roll type of thing, and they're able to get out of it pretty quick. The next character I would lead with would be a high wisdom character, or I would choose a character with the highest HP at the table. That's another really good strategy you can use. Make sure to always take advantage of the flank and the drone cards that you have on the table. Sometimes I forget to do that in the game, and then I kick myself later and I go, oh, I could have saved 2 or 3 HP this round, just making sure that I use those 2 cards. All right, now for the final one, which might take the fun out of the game for you. If you've played the game already and you've seen all of the cards in the game, try separating all the piles of cards into 3 separate piles. The first pile, make that the life-draining cards. You know those really pesky cards that you roll and then you lose 2 health, and you roll and you fail and you lose 2 more health. I'm gonna call those the life drain cards. So put all those cards in a stack for each chapter. The second cards you want to put down are going to be the item drawing cards. And then the third stack could be just enemies that you're going to go up against. Now there's a blend between all of those for sure, but that will make sure that you have an even blend of chapter cards throughout the game. Similar to how you would have an expansion in the game, when you buy an expansion, they're going to have a really evenly balanced chapter deck for you to play with. So speaking of expansions for Escape the Dark Sector, there are 3 expansions currently available. The first one is Twisted Tech, and I think everybody should purchase that if you have the base game. Twisted Tech adds a lot of really fun weapons, such as a sniper rifle, a blowtorch. It's got different drones that you can use instead of just the standard medical drone. It has new chapter cards and a new boss card, and some more custom dye, of course. The second expansion is called Mutant Syndrome, and it uses mutations throughout the game, which can both be good and bad for your characters. The third expansion is called Quantum Rift, and it plays with time travel. This being a dice game, there is a lot of luck involved. However, remember, when there are more dice in a game, it's actually less random, and it balances out a little better. There are still a lot of decisions that you can make, and especially using that flank option once per round is essential to make sure that you win. Overall, I think this is a wonderful thematic dice card-driven game, and the storytelling element throughout the game will really help keep all the players interested and invested. It's an extremely thematic experience. I love the soundtrack going as you're playing. It gets your blood pumping as you're playing the game, and it will give you lots of stories to talk about with your friends. So I've been John Allnut with How to Play Games. This was Escape the Dark Sector. Hope you enjoyed today. Next week, we'll be getting to play Copenhagen, and that is why I'm wearing this ridiculous suit, because it has Tetrominoes in it. It's kind of like the Magic School Bus, you know, whatever she was wearing, that's where they were going to go next on the Magic School Bus adventures. So, all right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.